Hello there, welcome to episode 35 of Titanic Talks. This is a show where we talk about things, and it's your boy, Titanic Sinclair. The show is brought to you by channel memberships. Hey, look, we have a back catalog of super secret hidden videos that you have access to if you become a channel member, and guess what we're doing? Your boy's making a new album. Just started the new Titanic Sinclair LP 4. Yeah, I've made 3 already. LP 4, and I figured I'm going to show the entire process. And you can see that if you become a channel member, as well as other exclusives and goodies. I figured, look, I've never really shown the recording process. I've done a couple videos explaining how I do certain things here or there, but I've never actually shown how I make an album. And I thought, well, you know what? That is why channel memberships exist, right? I think it's the perfect way to implement exclusive content here. So click the join button. You have access to everything. I think, I don't know, maybe there's 15 pre-existing episodes up there already and more to come. And really excited actually about showing the recording process. You know, it's been shrouded in secrecy for so many years. And I think we live in a time now where it's cool to share that. And I remember being a kid and watching early, this would have been like MySpace days, and seeing like clips of bands that I liked in the studio. And it was so cool to me. And one time in particular, this would have been at probably St. Andrew's Hall in Detroit, maybe Clutch Cargo's. I think it was St. Andrew's. Seeing Saves the Day on tour, being front row as a young lad, and only knowing little 5-second clips of the new songs. That would have been, Sound the Alarm? That album that came out after In Reverie, which is one of my favorite albums of all time. We've talked about it on the show already. Have you listened to it? It's good. Good stuff. What is going on, everyone? How are you? Happy Friday. Look, I want to say thank you to everyone who downloaded Country Star and listened to the new Caleb Lee Hutchinson track that I co-wrote and produced called Silverado. Got a boatload of people playing that game. That's kind of wild. I guess you don't really realize these days, if you're putting music out, people ask me all the time, hey, what should I do? Well, to promote, if you can get it into a mobile game, a lot of people play those. And so we got a good amount of pre-saves. People are liking it. The game's fun. Sometimes you get like endorsement deals and things like that. Most of the time I say no. And, well, one of them I might be saying yes to, so I won't clown on them quite yet. The product's really weird and has nothing to do with me, and I thought, it might be actually really funny. So you know what? I'll probably say yes to that. But Country Star is one of those things where, at first you're like, I've licensed my music or songs that I co-wrote to a lot of mobile games and video games, things of that nature. Probably more video games than anything else, actually. And if you're an up-and-comer and you maybe you have like an administrative deal through a publisher, something like that, or if you handle your own publishing and you have a song maybe that took off and they want to use it in a video game, hey, you can make a couple bucks. Way more than TV. Geez, I've said yes to a lot of TV shows, and they're not. Those aren't the ones responsible for buying diapers for my son. Well, actually, no. They could probably diapers is about all you can buy with that. But video game ones are pretty fun, and it's a cool way to get people to engage with a song. Little mad I didn't get 100%. I know Caleb is, we got a little thing going on where we're trying to one-up each other with our score. I can't believe I produced the damn song. How am I not getting 100%? It's kind of like a guitar. If you've played Guitar Hero or Rock Band, it's kind of that, but it's with your thumbs, see? But strangely addicting and a cool way to get your new music out there, right? So I want to say thanks to everyone who joined us in the fun for that. And hey, it's out now. Go ahead, head on over to Spotify or whatever listening service you use and listen to Silverado by the one and only Caleb Lee Hutchinson. It's the first song that he's putting out for the new album that your main man produced called Southern Galactic. Very excited about that. You've heard me talking about that for a while, probably. And pretty exciting. It's coming out. So much new stuff is coming out. Got a bunch of music videos that I directed recently, songs that I co-wrote, a new side project, and I guess you'll be with me. Channel members definitely will be with me here behind the scenes, writing and recording TS4. I don't even know what it's going to be called. I don't even know. Well, I kind of know what it's going to be like. And I think maybe last week I was talking about wanting to buy a Mustang Base. I got one. And I had to take the rounds off and put flats on right away. Because that's just the way we do it over here. I like a nice thumpy bass sound. And that's the way the cookie crumbles. So really, really having a good time over here. Dad life is great. I want to start things off today by doing my impression of my son. And it goes something like this. And that's him learning how to run. Still figuring the whole gravity thing out. It's tough out there. Gravity always wins, as our favorite Tom York said in a lyric that I wish I wrote. Pretty crazy things going on in the world, huh? Man, it's kind of sketchy out there. Are you in a big city? Where are you? Drop a comment. I don't want to be creepy, but maybe just like the general region. I like to know where everyone's from and what's going on in your neck of the woods. Are you in Philly? Philadelphia? Philadelphia people hate it when people call it Philly, right? Unless you're from Philly, is it one of those things? In Detroit, they would call it the Dirty D or the Murda Mitten. Michigan looks like a hand, Or from my hometown, Saginaw, Sag Nasty or the Nasty. And the local representative and leadership there is doing everything they can to rid themselves of that name. But hey, until it becomes Sag Beautiful, right? And if anyone here has been to Saginaw, Michigan, you know what I am talking about. This time of year, I do miss it, though. I miss having seasons. It's still 100 degrees in Texas. Are we over it? We've been over it since about June. And what are you going to do? It's hot. Hopefully it's not cooking where you're at. I will say last night was probably the first night we were outside and enjoyed some live music at the oldest dance hall in Texas. If you know what that is, go ahead and drop a comment and let me know that you know what's up. And it was a beautiful evening, actually. And by beautiful, like 89 degrees, which is hilarious because it's been 105, 109 down here in South Central Texas. I'm just not built for it. And you go to the store. It's spooky season. I'm sure you've been to the store and saw all of the pumpkin spiced themed items for sale. I was walking in the grocery store yesterday and was passing by all of the candy and toys and pumpkin spice themed things. And I thought to myself, it's a great way to get people to spend money. And those are the things that go through my head. People are looting Philadelphia. I saw the story about Meatball. Apparently, this is a Philadelphia-based live streamer. If I was gonna go and riot and loot throughout the city, setting things ablaze, breaking windows, stealing, things of that nature, I don't think I'd live stream it. And Meatball, I'm sure maybe you've seen the videos. They've been going mega viral. Over the past day or so, hit with 6 felonies. I'm no leader. Certainly no political revolutionary. I don't think stealing iPads is helping anyone. Definitely not. I'm not losing any sleep over Apple losing a couple iPhones and iPads. It's an optics thing. It's an optics thing, which everything in life is kind of an optics thing when you think about it. We're all online all the time. And we are our own personal brand and personal brand ambassadors. So that's something I've been thinking about. Every time there's the rioting and stuff, I try to put myself in that mentality. Anytime you're in a large group of people, I noticed the other day, actually, I started talking about when I was young and I guess, let's say, inspired by politicians saying that they were going to change everything. I started talking about being at Grant Park the night that Obama won the election for the first time. And there really was this feeling of optimism. And it's kind of wild seeing it now with young people nowadays, whether it's with political candidates or I think young people now are seeing through a lot of it, kind of realizing all of them are psychotic. And it's just a business. Everything in the modern world is transactional to a degree. The music business certainly is. And it gets really weird when you get to the point in your life where it's like, I feel like, well, I kind of did the thing I wanted to do, it wasn't what I thought it would be. So now I'm back kind of to square one, where it's like, well, why did I start doing the thing that I wanted to do? Well, I love writing and recording music, and I love making videos. So in a lot of ways, I think that's why I'm starting to write this new album and starting side projects and working a lot more with other people, because it's fun again. And I'm comfortable enough in life to where I don't have to, I felt like until I succeeded in the thing that I was hoping to succeed in, I felt like I was just scraping my way to get to that thing, whether it was money or success or attention. And I think I just don't care about attention anymore, which I know seems a little insane because here I am, making a video talking into a camera and a microphone. But I really do see this almost as a sort of, I'm finding that, especially through your listener questions and the comments everyone leaves, I'm hoping to be a resource at this point, because I kind of get to just do things that I want to do now, which is insanely, it's good. I'm very, very, very happy about that. I almost said stoked. Yeah, I'm stoked about that. And I get to work with the people that that I'm inspired by and I believe in. A variety of people. And it keeps things interesting creatively, even if it's just phone calls and brainstorming, and I'm working on things now that are on a scope and scale, I guess, that when I was younger I would have been very intimidated by. But now, being in, I guess, a flow state creatively, it's like, hey, I'm just going to do my best, and if it works, cool. And I think I learned that from years and years and years of failing and trying. My analogy I always give is the puzzle piece. You've got like 2 or 3 pieces of the puzzle left, and you just can't get them to fit right, so you kind of start forcing them in. I felt like that way probably until we finished I Disagree. And that album was, it was such an achievement for us. Even down to like the title. I remember just being like, yeah. It summed a lot of things up, That whole album was, I've talked about it before on here, but it was a response to all of the just LA sessions. And it's like yeah, everyone wants a hit. Yeah. And all the label people and blah, blah, blah. We need a hit. We need a hit. We need a hit. It's like, if we had hits, we would have recorded, released them, and made the money off of them a long time ago. It just doesn't really work that way. The only person it seems to work for is Max Martin. Who I've been listening to quite a bit of Max Martin stuff recently, and it's just like, how? But as you know, I keep going back further and further. This week I've kind of been in more of a, I've been listening to Glenn Campbell a lot. And I think that's kind of influencing the music I've been writing. Figure that one out. Maybe we can fast forward a couple months when the new album's done, and we can come back to this, revisit, and say, hey man, it sounds nothing like Glenn Campbell. But like I like to do it, that's probably just going to be one of 50 different influences. And if you go through my body of work, you can pick them all out and listen to any song that I've written or co-written or produced. And if you can pick out some of the references, you can probably find or be informed in what I was listening to at the time. I disagree being heavily, I was listening to a lot of nu metal. A lot. We would leave these pop sessions, big producers, big writers, the whole shebang. And I would just be so exhausted from just like forcing out some formulaic pop song, blah, 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 whatever. I felt like I needed to do it. Glad I did. Learned a lot. Most of those never came out. Some of them did. And I would just get right in the car and like I was listening to like Follow the Leader a lot, Korn. I was listening to $3 Bill Y'all, Limp Bizkit's first album, and Mechanical Animals, and quite a bit of Downward Spiral and The Fragile by Nine Inch Nails. And, those are the elements that I was... A lot of those I Disagree songs started... I would record like the demos at home, and then we bring those into the studio and completely just go crazy and dissect things and rearrange them. And I was thinking about that that album recently, just because it was, as I'm recording a lot more again, you pick up so many things in the studio. In that case, that was me and Chris Griotti, and then Zach Cervini was at the helm on the ones and twos. And you just learn so much when you're able to do. I mean, we did the entire album together, which doesn't always happen. Sometimes, especially when a lot of people are involved, you've got we did this song with these people and this song with that person, blah blah blah, and they kind of come together. And to me, that never really feels complete. But when you do the entire thing together, it feels more complete. That's how I like to do it, at least. That kind of cohesive feeling of the same brains and hands involved in everything. And it was crazy. And then, by the end of that, got to become friends with and hang out with the exact people. All except for Trent Reznor. But actually, all of those bands, I've met or talked to all of them. Kind of weird. I didn't actually realize that. That's weird thinking back. I met Trent Reznor. I worked for him, actually. I still have the check stub. This would have been, maybe 2013, 2014. One of my best friends in life, he's been on tour and worked with Trent for, I don't know, over a decade now. And we built the live show. I was a part of a team, obviously. It wasn't just me. But it was the one where everything was modular. It started with Trent, I think it was just him and it wasn't an OP1. I think it was just a beat pad, and then everyone comes out like on the risers. There's footage of it everywhere on the internet. Cool tour. It was inspired by, I remember they were talking about like Talking Heads, which was it Stop Making Sense, where they start off, where it's just David Byrne solo front, and then everyone kind of comes in. Anyway, craziness, and that's the time I spent with Trent Reznor. Pretty cool. It was like when he walked in, it was like the president walked in. It was just... I only said a couple words to him the whole time. I think I worked for like a month and a half on that, putting that show together. It was crazy because we were in one of those big sound stages, you know, which is a bit like a warehouse basically in Burbank. And, you know, my buddies and I, like the unit that I was working on, which was a lot of like programming main stage, which is the, it's like a part of Logic where it's the live Logic basically. And we were getting like all the patches and everything right. And mapping all of like the presets for the show for like the synthesizers and what have you. And it would just be like 12 hours of strobe lights because they were rehearsing with like the lights and stuff. And I'm trying to like solder stuff and program computers. And it was awesome. I don't think I ever told that story, maybe. I ever tell the Fred Durst story? I had Korean street food with Fred Durst. He was insanely cool. Insanely cool. And this must have been like 2019, because I think maybe I Disagree had come out. He was talking about putting like a music festival together. I don't think that ever came to fruition. And we went to Dan Sung Sa, one of my favorite places in LA. If you know, you know. And I love that place. And people always, you know, there's all this speculation with all the screams on I Disagree. You know, was it Marilyn Manson? Was it her new boy? It was the old boy. It was me. And I'm proud of those screams. I have, look, I grew up playing in like metal bands and stuff. Like I'd practiced screaming a lot. I remember the moment in the studio when we're like, oh, we should do some like black metal screams here. I want to say it was maybe Zach. It's like, well, I know so-and-so, you know, we can get them to come in. I was like, I can scream. And everyone's just like, what? I'm like, yeah, let me give it a shot. And I think the first one was Gimme, Gimme Bloody, actually. I think I have footage of that. Maybe roll the clip if we have that. I'm sure I do. Gimme Bloody, please, Gimme Bloody! Did have a session with Manson. Craziest night of my life. You know, to think like a couple months prior, I'm like listening to Mechanical Animals. It's like I was a kid when that stuff came out. I remember like Dope Show premiering on Total Request Live. And then a couple months later, there he is, like singing my words in the booth. And I was just like, huh? But you never really get to, I never was able to soak moments like that. Well, maybe. Every one of those, you know, they always say don't meet your heroes. And there's a time in my life where I was like, I want to meet them all. And had the opportunity to. Working with them is a different thing. And, yeah, I think about that all the time. You know, people like clown on me and stuff online. It's like, I did it. If I had a time machine and I could go to a 15-year-old version of me and be like, hey, here's what you're going to do. I don't think younger me would ever believe that for a second. What was the other band I was? Oh, Korn. I only met Jonathan. He's very sweet. and very quiet. I think I met him at Manson's birthday party. Yeah, there's photos somewhere. Anyway, hey, didn't plan on talking about that, but hey, that's the way the show goes. We just talk about stuff, right? Writer's strike is over. And apparently what they agreed to, this was funny to me. One of the stipulations, because AI was a big thing about the writer's strike, and what everyone was kind of up in arms about. And so according to the agreement, AI can't write or rewrite literary material, and AI-generated material will not be considered source material under the MBA, meaning that AI-generated material can't be used to undermine a writer's credit or separated rights. Okay. Then it goes on to say, a writer can choose to use AI when performing writing services if the company consents and provided the writer follows applicable company policies. But the company can't require the writer to use AI software when performing writing services. Huh? Oh, so you can use AI. I'm not in the Writers Guild. I don't have any stake in the game here, but just outside looking in, that's what you agreed on? Money makes the world go round. And how are they even going to know? You know all of these. Well, I'm sure there are some. I know some of them. I know there are purists who will never go near it. But I mean, come on, man. If you're like writing for some kids show, you've written 70 episodes. It's like you're not going to use a little Chat GPT. Maybe. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was this headline. That was pretty funny. Celebrity divorce lawyer links Barbie, Beyonce, and Taylor Swift tours to uptick in breakups. Hey, if going to a Taylor Swift concert or watching Barbie encourages you to break up, maybe you shouldn't be 13. We already talked about the Barbie thing. It was, I get it. I think we all get it, right? It's like, okay. It's exactly what we thought it was going to be. But if that's the thing that is informing you to... Who's looking at Taylor Swift for, like, relationship advice? Isn't she, like, notoriously known for, like... not being the most chill in a relationship? It's funny how no one goes after them, It's okay when she writes about a breakup. It's different. And Beyonce. We all know about, we know how I feel about Beyonce. The most overrated icon in the history of everything. The first thing I think about when I think of Beyonce is that Drunken Love song every time. When I was a kid even, I loved Destiny's Child. I thought that was great. I love that late 90s, mid to late 90s pop. I love. And I know everyone probably has the same thing where it's like, oh yeah, when you're a kid, that what you grew up with is what you tend to love. But I feel like objectively, I'm at the point now where I can look back and Destiny's Child is light years more memorable than Beyonce's solo work. Yeah, there's cool production. There's interesting moments. I think what, you know, in all of these conversations, I suppose it's a rant. It's not a conversation because I'm the only one talking here. But what I'm finding, whether it's with the Beyonce, Taylor Swift, Paramore, you know, the people and I don't want it to come across as like I'm just poo-pooing on them. Like, I'll listen to it. You know, I'm not going out of my way, but, well, I think, yeah, last time I was at the store, soon after thinking about the Halloween profits, they were playing Taylor Swift on the music there, and it was I can't even remember what song it was. I don't find that stuff memorable. I know it was Taylor Swift. I guess that kind of proves my point. This isn't a bit, by the way. I'm truly trying to remember what song it was, and it was just one of those Taylor Swift songs. They all kind of sound the same to me. But the whole thing with them, and this is one person's opinion, I just don't believe it. Not that it's not cool. There's cool things involved in all of it. I did, by the way, go and listen to some of the Paramore stuff. Still not my thing, but someone sent me a long message like, well, you just, you know, I hear where you're coming from, but you picked out, you know, some of the worst stuff that they've done, and check this out. Still Into You, that I like that song. But nowhere near, I don't know, my earliest memory with music is watching Thriller as I was probably like 4 or 5. Michael Jackson and Madonna and Queen were and the Eagles were very popular with my parents. And when I was a little lad, I heard a lot of that. And I understand that every generation is going to have their version of that, like that level of success. And look, clearly the music is connecting with people. It just seems like, man, you got Queen and Michael Jackson and even Madonna. You know, Madonna, she's from Bay City, Michigan, right next door to Saginaw, where I grew up. And so there's always a thing with Michigan musicians. You know, even with Kid Rock, it's like, but he's from Michigan. Bawa to Boss slaps. I don't care what anyone says. I was listening to that song like crazy too during the I Disagree sessions, because my whole thing for that album was all just about the, you know, listen to like ba da bang diggy. It's just really fun to sing along to, right? I've got this thing, I don't know what you would call it, but like when I'm writing hooks, it's just I'm always focused on the like singing. It has to be fun. And if you're in the shower, if you're in your car and it comes on, like when you catch yourself singing along to it, especially if you don't like the song, it's like some people call it like an earworm, but that to me, earworm's more about hook that stays with you. I'm talking about when like the physical feeling of singing something, you know. And I like. What's another good example? I mean, Bawa Taba is a great example, actually. But in the same way, you know, boom, like Korn had that thing where it's almost like beatboxing, scatting. And then Limp Bizkit, you know, they nailed. To me, those are hooks. They're weird, but they're hooks. Ew, that's Disturbed. But, you know, those moments, memorable moments. Purple Cows, right? We talk about Purple Cows a lot here. Those, to me, are Purple Cows. I'm never going to take it off, right? Stop looking at me. Gimme, bloody. It's all kind of the same thing. But what does Brian Eno say? His career is... There's some Brian Eno quote about explaining the success of his career, and he's saying, like, doing the same thing over and over without people realizing it. Something like that. It's like, yeah, I think he's right. You just find the little things that work. And I find that those kind of like cheerleader-y, that's what I call them. Like, hey, you should do a cheerleader thing here. The one I would always recommend was Hollaback Girl. Few times been around that track. It just has that, to me, I call it cheerleader thing. But yeah, just a hook. Funny thing about all those too is hardly any, there's tonality, but there isn't really a melody in those. It's more so just about the, it's like a chant. It's hypnotic in a weird way. I like that stuff. And what does that have to do with Beyonce? I don't know. Oh, and have you watched The Bear? I'm late to the game on all these things. You know, I'm always late with television. I think I started watching Breaking Bad like the last season, or like second to last season, and I like caught myself up. Game of Thrones, same way. Last season, I think it was the last. I had to plow through that whole show within like a month, which was insane. But I was like off tour and had been sick, and I was like, I'm just gonna do it. And I think in like 2 weeks, I watched the entire show just so I could watch the last episode fresh. I think it was the last 2 episodes. I was one of the only people who loved the way Game of Thrones ended. Hot take? Is that our hot take for the week? I loved the ending of Game of Thrones. Why did I love the ending of Game of Thrones? Because it's realistic. Because to me, it was about going scorched earth, which is kind of funny because we were watching that, right? Kind of at the end of that project. And we all know someone who went scorched earth. Had the blonde hair to go with it. But I felt like, you know what? Like I understood. It's been a while since I watched. Was it Daenerys Targaryen? Am I remembering that correctly? I liked it. It's tragic. But real life lends itself to tragedy, which is why stories like that stand the test of time. I would say Game of Thrones is in that realm. People just want to hear the same story over and over. I've talked about Kurt Vonnegut's The Shape of Stories. You should watch that if you haven't seen it yet. His lecture about the shapes of stories. I'm sure if you just YouTube search Kurt Vonnegut shape story, it'll come up. But The Bear, great. It's great. It's one of those shows, you know, I lived in Chicago for years, and a friend of mine who is a Chicago native recommended it to me, and he said it perfectly encapsulates Chicago. And yes, it does. It's the little things. I'm sure people say this everywhere, but one of the things that got me, I used to smoke cigarettes, and one of the things is when a guy goes to have a smoke, and he goes, I'm going to go burn one. I was like, oh, whoa. That's very Chicago to me. Let's go burn one. But if you haven't watched The Bear, I think it's fantastic. And, you know, I'm trying, I promise I'm trying to get better as a guest in a restaurant. I'm not the only one who has noticed a steep decline in general service since like 2020. But man, after watching that. I thought it was going to be like a show about chefs and cooking. It's much more than that, but I think it's more about hospitality than it is about the food itself, right? They don't dive into, and that's kind of why I didn't watch it for a while. I was like, oh, we're really going to watch another show about how to make food, which I love, by the way. I've said it before here. I'm at the point in my life, this is how you know I'm a dad. I like cooking just as much as I do home cook, obviously, but I like cooking just as much as I do making music. It's a similar creative thing for me. Just trying stuff out, experimenting, having your hits, right? And what I appreciate about The Bear is how Chicago it is. Really made me miss Chicago, big time. And it really made me, they captured, I noticed at the end in the credits, there's like a Chicago specific casting. I wonder if that was a thing where I think most of like the leads in the show, I would assume they're not Chicago native, but some of the characters in there, it's just like, man, it just reminded me of living there. And sometimes I think anywhere you live, there's endearing qualities. And that show captured a lot of them, even if they're annoying. Chicago people are different. I love them. I'm a Midwest boy. You know, you can take the boy out of the Midwest, but can't take the Midwest out of the boy. Let's go to some listener questions here. Got about 20 minutes to go on these. Let's see if we can bang through some of them. Brian from Muskegon, Michigan. Muskegon. I have family in Muskegon. Well, I have family all over Michigan, but West Side. Let's go. Hey, we all know. I grew up on Lake Huron. Decent lake. Lake Michigan, West Coast. Hey, Lake Michigan, speaking of Chicago. Best lake in the world? Definitely one of the biggest. Fresh water. You know your boy loves freshwater lakes. And Muskegon is on Lake Michigan. You know, that's right by where my buddy Garrett Bournes is from, West Side. I think Iggy Pop's from Muskegon too, isn't he? I think he claims Ypsilanti. But I want to say he's from Muskegon. Anyway. See, Michigan, music, musicians, Michigan people. Yeah, the Stooges, if you never listen to them, that to me is punk rock. Everyone has their idea. Obviously, mine's going to be more influenced by, I think, the region in which I'm from. But yeah, come on. Stooges. Brian asks, what's the point... What's the point in spending months recording music when nobody listens to it? Hey, great question. You know, my gut says there is no point, but that'd be dismissive. The point to me is it's in the process. It's the friends we make along the way, which honestly, as cheesy as that sounds, it is very true. I've met my best friends in life because of music. Maybe we would have crossed paths in one way or another, but it's a magic thing. Brian, I don't know if you're playing in a band, if you're doing a solo thing, recording at home alone. That can get tricky. If you're recording at home, you put it out, and you know it's hard to get people to listen. Not everyone is able to just jump into the number one downloaded video game on the App Store. Sorry. I had to. The point for me is I love doing it. Outside of, you know, family life and spending time with them and friends, my favorite thing in the world is to write and record music. Above and beyond anything. I used to think I wanted to be a director. had fun with my friends doing it. Then it became a job, and I was like, well, this isn't really for me. Maybe when I get older, that joy will come back. Music has never wavered. Particularly writing music and recording. I see writing and recording as the same thing. They're two peas in a pod to me. I picked up a guitar 23 years ago, and I caught the bug. I'd get home from school and I would play, and God bless my parents, but when I got an electric guitar and an amp, and they would just suffer through me practicing for years. And then eventually I got to be like okay at it, and I remained okay for about, 20 years. And then I would say like the last 3 years of playing, that's when I started learning theory and started paying attention to really getting better. I think I was an intermediate, at least with guitar and bass. I was intermediate for 20 years. Well, no, I was horrible for a year, intermediate for the rest. And now I guess somewhat advanced, kind of. I'm getting to the point now in life where I'll learn stuff and play it and nail it, or write and record something and play it and be like, it's kind of good. Was not like that for a very long time, which is fine. You live and you learn, right? The point, a lot of people don't have hobbies. I know a lot of people who are suffering with depression and anxiety don't have that release. Cheesy, I know, I get it. But truly from the heart, if I'm having a bad day, or I'm stressed out or anxious or feeling bummed, sad, depressed, I can always pick up a guitar or any of my instruments and just play something and maybe write something. And if I'm really feeling down or really happy, I can pick it up and channel that. Something I learned in therapy is just to write. Just write. Write how you're feeling. Someone's bothering you, write that letter, that scathing, horrible, get it all out, and then burn it. Or tear it up and throw it away. Never send the letter, but write it. And to me, music is I've never considered my lyrics or my music poetry. I've written poetry, or what I would consider poetry. It was never like that for me, but I would say creative writing. It's the medicine that can't be prescribed by a doctor. And to me, it's easy for me to say, and look, I have a small audience who digs my stuff, right? I'd love for more people to, I make music, I release music because I want to share it with people, right? And I know that feeling of wanting to succeed with it and wanting people to pay attention and hear it. And just no one does. I mean, it was years and years and years of nobody listening to the stuff that I thought was great. So it was weird to me when even more years later, even to this day, people are still sending me notes and messages. They just heard the thing I made 11 years ago or whatever. It's something I made in 2009, 2010, something like that. And it's new to them. And maybe, Brian, what you're working on, I tell this to people I work with now because I work with a lot of up-and-comers now. Like sometime, and this is advice I got kind of dark advice actually. When it was told to me, it was like, well, sometimes people don't discover you until after you're dead. I remember just looking at him, just being like, thanks, man. Like, are you suggesting something? I don't think he was, hopefully. But it takes time. I think I talked about it last week, using you. I remember writing that and just being like, this song's good. Like, I thought it was great. I thought the recording came out great and the video came out pretty good, and it just didn't react. And I was convinced this thing's going to get a million hits right away. And there's been so many of those. Trust me. It's the same thing with videos, any creative thing. It's like you have that like gut feeling. And sometimes that just takes time. But then, Brian, I'm assuming you're probably younger, especially if you're just starting out. For me now, like I'm mid 30s, like it's like I was talking about earlier. Like I truly, I don't care about the attention. The attention that I want is just so people will hear the music. Part of the reason I do these, number one, is because I'm hopefully of service to someone watching this. Hopefully someone watching this right now, and this goes for every episode. If there's one little nugget of inspiration or idea or to push you over the edge, like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to get a guitar and learn, or I'm going to record that song. And even if you're just opening up GarageBand and, just doing it, the best time to plant a tree is 50 years ago, right? The second best time is right now. And I always say, like, I ran out of mistakes to make, and it's like, I think you just got to fall off the bike and keep falling off the bike until finally you figure out how to balance on the bike. And I get where you're coming from. What's the point? Like, I say that all the time still. Like, what's the point? And then I'm getting better with age. Now I'm like, because I love it. That's why I'm going to start reminder. Excuse me. If you join and become a channel member, I'm going to do weekly uploads. I think I'm just going to do not live stream because I don't want to put it out. I feel like there's got to be some sort of exclusivity, right? If you're, paying a couple bucks to be a channel member, it's like, well, you get to see the probably unedited, just setting up the camera and just going, just writing and recording. But I still feel that way sometimes, Brian. And to me, it's because it's a hobby that I've been able to make a career out of. And I don't suggest to anyone. You get the question all the time, hey, my friend or my son or my nephew wants some advice. They want to go into be a music producer or an artist. What advice do you give them? And it's always the same for me. Don't go to law school. But if you're dead set on it, and I was convinced I had to do this, like this is what I was going to do with my life, it was full conviction. And I still do have a little bit of that conviction. It's just become, I hope I haven't become too comfortable, but I am comfortable and happy in life for the first time. And that inspires me to make different types of music, focus on different things, write about different things. And I think most importantly, not be so focused on the point. The point is the process, right? Let's go rapid fire a couple of these. Let's see here. Sorry about the delay there, y'all. Let's take this one from Matt, what advice, how would you suggest someone grow their audience as a music artist from the first release? Let's see what they say right after this, because it might be, I'm in a band that's gone from 0 to a small 100K monthly listeners. Hey, 100K, that's not small. That's good. Starting fresh on a new project where I feel very vulnerable, being the singer/only writer for the first time ever. Hey, been there before. And the only person involved besides a videographer helping with content and socials. The way you're talking, Matt, sounds like you already kind of know what's going on. You've got a video person helping you out. That's big. I was going to say, as much, I'm a musician first, so know that. But if you're just starting a new project, visual, I would say focus primarily on the visuals first. If you've already got 100,000 listeners on another project, chances are you know a thing or two about songwriting and music production. And, if you can piggyback off of the other project, just, hey, whether it's on socials or whatever, sometimes that doesn't work. But if it is a thing where you have that type of audience to be like, oh, hey, by the way, like, here's some more music, that always helps. I'm all for that. Think about the bands that you love or the artists that you love. Like, I want to hear every little thing that they're doing, right? Radiohead, every single one of their side projects. Like, I need to figure out some way to hear that stuff, whether it's a music score or whatever. And so any and all ways, social channels that you can distribute get the word out, is good. Instead of telling you like what to do, I'll tell you what hasn't worked. Controversial, but hey, we're here to tell the truth. Pay for play services, or what's the one? I can't remember the names of them. I've tried out a couple of them. They don't work. What are those called? Let's see. Pay for Spotify. Playlist Push. And then the other one is, let's see, pay for Spotify playlists placement. Boost Collective, Sound Campaign, You Grow Promo. I haven't used those ones. But Submit Hub, that's the big one. Don't waste your money on it. You'd be surprised the people I talk to within the biz about this kind of stuff. For reference, like, I've never promoted my solo stuff ever. I'll put a YouTube video out and an Instagram story or a post. My biggest song on Spotify would be Scorpio. And, we're coming up, looking at the analytics here pretty soon. It's going to be 3 million streams. So not a ton, but a lot. I've never paid anything. That's all just been because I think, I don't know, actually. I like to think it's because it's a good song. And again, it's, music's my hobby that has become a career, but, don't expect to get rich off of this. The people really making a lot of money are the ones like touring and stuff, right? So, gosh, I hope that helps for advice. They go on to say, I'm sure plenty of artists have connections first to help grow their music, and plenty of artists to gain those connections through growing their music independently first. Well, I can tell you out of the gate, at least on most social channels, maybe it's a little different for YouTube if you have a YouTube presence. But on like Instagram and stuff like that, it doesn't matter. And I've had plenty of friends ask me to like post their stuff on Instagram and stuff. And it's like, hey, you're my friend. I'll do it, but no one's going to care. They're following that person because they like their music. Maybe you'll get like a small handful of people, but I don't even getting the, I'm sure you've heard it from your favorite artist before. Like, you got to check this thing out and this and that. And it's just like, you're like, no, people need to find a way. And I get doing like the TikToks and, hey, what's up? I wrote the song about this and it goes a little something like this. I get it. That's just not the way I do it. I'm sure you've done both, having been in multiple projects before. And I'd like to know how you went about each scenario as well as what you learned from each. Yeah, the best thing in that realm, it's less about getting people to talk about your thing. I found it's better if you collaborate in some way. Maybe you're just collaborating on a video. One thing that comes to mind, we did, I think Poppy.computer had come out and the YouTube channel was blowing up at the time. To a degree where I was like, what is this? And it was Dylan Francis, the producer, artist. He was just like a fan of the videos and was like, hey, let's do something. And, we didn't even work together particularly like in a music way. It was just like, oh, why don't you come be in a video? I think he was the first person outside of like our props, the skeleton, Charlotte, and all that stuff, to ever be in one. And then it was just the production flow and where I was at and living in LA and everything. It was conducive to just be like, hey, come on through. Everything's already set up. Like, let's just do something silly. And then that got, more people involved. And then next thing you know, you're recording with Diplo, right? 3, have you ever applied that quote to your projects? You're not starting over, you're starting from experience. Oh yeah, I use that every day. Every new project I work on, I'm like, oh, I've got the Blood Money synth patch. Like, I've put that on so many recordings. It's a good, you find like good sounds. To me, it's mostly about sounds. My bass sound. My guitar tones, right? All those little things that I've picked up over the years, you can apply those in different ways. And let's do one more here. Ooh, long episode today, huh? Hey, Kiki. We have a hungry cat. We have a hungry cat. Let's see. Oh, you want to be on camera? There she is. And here is, let's see. A while ago, you mentioned in an episode that it took you a long time to realize other people don't have the same perspective / philosophy as you, and that hit me like a bullet. How did you find a compromise in the world / fans to make art that was personal to you, but also understood on a universal level? Good question. Well, I guess the thing I was talking about, that you're referencing here, is about how other people don't have the same perspective or philosophy as you. I guess the way I apply that to music, I've talked about this a lot where at a bare minimum, like let's say you're like working on a song, like working on a music thing, and you say here you spent several years writing and producing songs about specific topics I cared about and failed many times to resonate with the audience. Well, that's a good thing. Failure is the best thing a creative person can experience, because you know what didn't work, and you can either use that to your advantage or choose to like, well, let's try the complete opposite of that. They go on to say, I refuse to touch on overdone topics like love, breakups, and family because I wanted to be different. Yeah, been there before. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? I think having a variety of subject matter is a good thing. But if you're going for like a mainstream, like bigger audience, to my estimation, and look, I'm no expert here, but have had a couple songs that people really connected with, and they tended to kind of be about love, breakups, and stuff like that. There is a criteria that maybe you can do as an experiment here. Maybe I'm giving you homework for our songwriters here. Maybe start with 3 or 4 chords. That's all you can use for the whole song, and make it between 110 and 130 beats per minute. Do it in a major scale and simplify everything to the extent where you feel like it's dumb. Because if you're using a large musical and or production vocabulary, I tend to believe even when you restrict yourself to those limitations, you're still within those very simple, almost nursery rhyme-y type songs. There still are millions of combinations of chords and notes to make a progression and melody that is unique to you. And I find, was it Dave Grohl who said white people dance to the words? Your perspective, the words that you say and how you say them and how you choose when you choose to say them, that to me is what's important. That's the big thing on artists that I've worked with. And then, the stuff I haven't worked on, the main comment I get is, I can tell that you didn't work on this. Whether that's a compliment or not, I obviously take it as a compliment, because it's like, well, I tend to really think about the lyrics a lot. And in the sessions, especially when I'm co-writing, one of the strongest, they always say this all the time, the strongest word in Hollywood is no. And you obviously, if you're producing, and even as a co-writer, you never want to come across as like a douchey douche, right? But sometimes the best thing is to just go with your gut. And look, most of my contribution to the co-writing sessions, especially in Hollywood, that I've been a part of, most of it was, no, that ain't it. And sometimes you're there for hours, and then finally you get it. And whether it's something I wrote or maybe someone else, throws an idea out, and then we mold it into something, then it's like, okay, that's it. And even though the chords are the same, the melody's the same, the production's the same, saying the right thing, sometimes it's funny and stupid and goofy. Sometimes that's the perfect thing. So you can take simple concepts like love and breakups and stuff like that. My philosophy has always been, and this I took this from just looking at like the Wikipedia of the most successful songs in popular music, and it's like, well, pretty much all of them are new ways of saying I love you, I miss you, I need you, I hate you, different variations of that, but said in a new way, right? Hopefully that helps. I'm going to feed this cat. Thank you, everyone. If you would like to buy some merchandise, TitanicSinclair.bandcamp.com. You can get merch there. That is the single number one way to help this channel if you enjoy this type of content here. And certainly become a channel member. We're starting this week, going to start putting out some new, fresh content. So that is, I can't even stress how helpful that is. Even just from like a mental like support standpoint, like, choosing to be like, hey man, I got you, I'm joining. It means the world to me, and it keeps not only these videos alive, this channel alive, but helps us get more videos and entertainment content for all of y'all, right? Send listener questions to TitanicSinclair@gmail.com and put listener question in the subject. I keep talking super long on these, so I'm sorry to the ones I haven't gotten to. gotten. I don't like using that word. The ones I haven't responded to here. Maybe we'll do a whole episode of just listener questions, and we can nail all those in a later episode. Thank you again for watching. Love you all very much. Stay cool. You want to say bye, Kiki? I fed her this morning, I swear. She's just... It's not even lunchtime, and she's a cat. She deserves it. Ow. Maybe not. Ow. Okay, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.